This is Tristen Selman with you from Serenity Impact. And this week I have the amazing opportunity of talking to you guys about myths and denials. All right. So, first question is, what are they? It's very common, very basic. They are unproved belief or an invented story. Okay. So, there's really nothing technically valid about it, just right out front. All right. And also, drug myths are unrealistic beliefs that are used to justify drug use. Many people hold unrealistic beliefs or myths about drug abuse or drug use. What is an example of a belief about drug use that people your age hold that may be unrealistic? One example would be it's okay to drive while high. Some people, in fact, believe that they drive better when they're high and versus when they're sober. Okay, that would be a clear example. So we're going to start off with our first example of a myth. All right, so the first myth is drug use provides emotional protection from the outside world. All right, my first question is, what makes this a myth? Could it be people don't really escape? They just hide from reality? Because once that high comes down, everything's still the same. Your problems are all still the same. The situation hasn't changed. You just temporarily escaped and you came right back. What's the difference between drug-induced happiness and a natural state of happiness? Well, drug-induced happiness is usually based on a superficial or just a shallow experience. There's nothing really in-depthing about it. In fact, it could even be funny to some people, but again, that's only as long as you're high, because once that wears down, we're back to earth and everything is still what it is, right? Drugs help people to establish friendships. That's one thing I wanted to actually focus on, guys, and this is our second myth. How people establish connections through drugs is, it's actually kind of concerning, honestly. What makes this a myth? Well, drug-related friendships are usually built on a mutual drug use. So usually, if there's no drugs involved, the people aren't involved. That's, they usually kind of go hand in hand together. So what types of friendships are established with drug use? Again, we go back to that shallow and just superficial. Yes, we've all seen plenty of movies. We all have, different friends, but when I was growing up, I used to hear guys talking about, they were selling this or everyone's hitting them up for that. And then as soon as these guys, fall off the map or they stop associating themselves with whatever they're into, all of a sudden everybody disappears. All of a sudden, all their homies, all their friends, all their girlfriends, everyone's gone. So, just understand that friendship is only there because of the influence of the drug usage. All right, so now we're going to move over into denial. So what is denial? It is quite common for a drug user to be in denial. So guys, denial is ignoring consequences that are obvious to others, okay? So it's not that they're just not there. It's that people are, just choosing not to want to listen or not to want to see. So what makes a person live in denial? Living in denial is easier than admitting that you have an issue, which we've all heard that is the start of a healing process, is being able to admit it. So if they're not able to admit it, we're still stuck in that rut. And then people who use drugs sometimes use a reverse of cause effect. And what do I mean by that? An example would be someone saying they use drugs out of boredom. All right. Or they use it to have fun. But in reality, they may be bored because they use drugs. There are quite a few people who had lives and had things that they were doing and goals and ambitions or just fun hobbies before they started interacting in this activity. And now they're using the excuse that they're just doing it because they're bored. Users may also lose their creativity and their ability to find anything outside of just the drug usage itself. Kind of sitting there and you're looking, well, what do I do if I'm not doing this? All right, they're losing that creativity step. And then the benefits would be that they don't have to take responsibility for their own lives in that instance. So there are four kinds of denials. All right. The first one is blaming others. All right. And guys, while I'm talking about these things, I want you to also just, again, relate it wherever you can find it. You know, if it's in a TV show, if it's in a movie, if it's in your own personal life, I want you to be able to correlate or connect these things. All right. So the four kinds of denial is blaming others, denying injury. There's an example that, I used at the beginning. We're going to call this guy Jimmy. So Jimmy said that it was okay to drive high and that he drives better. Well, Jimmy just so happened to crash into a pole while he was driving high. And instead of admitting that it was a part of the cause, he's just like, you know what? That pole wasn't supposed to be there. I don't know where it came from. It came out of nowhere. Even though he got his arm broken in the midst of it, he's still just like, well, that it wasn't because of what I was doing. It just happened like that. Denying effects on others. A lot of times when people get involved in these different types of activities, it affects the people that closest to us more than likely, whether it's your family, your friends. And then reinterpretation. And that is where they take the negative consequence, such as Jimmy crashing into that pole, and then try to make it seem positive. Well, actually, I guess if I wouldn't have hit that pole, then, I probably wouldn't have been able to get my car fixed again. All right, so we're wrapping it up, guys. These are things that I want you to think about while we're sitting here, while you have this moment, this time. Do you think you know someone who is in denial about their drug use? Whether it be, again, someone you're just associated with or out in the world, or maybe it could be something you're struggling with. What does this person do that makes you think that they are in denial? Do you think this person believes any of the myths we discussed earlier? So, in summary, guys, a myth is a false belief that justifies an action. And denial is filtering out the negative consequences of a behavior like drug use, even though they are obvious to others. Again, they're not inconspicuous or they're not, hidden. It's there. So guys, before I go to my next slide, I wanted to recall on our first lesson in communication, and one of the key things I talked about was having an open mind. And, for this next activity that we're about to do, it requires you to use that skill and be open-minded with not just yourself, but the people around you. All right? So we have a group discussion time. I want you to take about 5 minutes with a partner and discuss these 3 questions. How has someone else's drug use impacted you? All right. And during the time that you're discussing this, you don't have to talk about specifically who that person is to you or their name. You can just, reference to them however you do. Number 2, did you tell them what their choices did to you? How they impacted you? And then how can we help someone in denial to be more conscious of how they hurt other people or how others in general? All right, guys. Well, I want you to go ahead, take a little bit of time, and get right back to you. All right, guys, I hope that you enjoyed the activity. I know it's something that I've personally used myself and does help to be able to talk with different people about things that go on in your life or that's people that you know and just need advice on. So I'm glad that you guys joined in with me on this discussion, and I'll be look forward to seeing you guys next week. So y'all have a great week. See you later.